Hello, everyone. My name is Jerry Galindo. I am the host for this week's First Year Experience podcast, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Gerson Salinas and Neidye Rodriguez. And today we are joined by two very important, special, co-workers that we've been working with. Definitely. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, please do.
My name is Krystal Marroquin. I am the orientation coordinator for both the Edinburgh and Brownsville campus.
Hi, my name is Aissa Rodriguez, and I am a lead orientation leader at the Edinburgh campus.
So we on the First Year Experience team have been joining you all with the virtual orientations for the past, it feels like 100 years, but it's been early April, and wow. They've been so fun. Like, we were just talking about it, getting to talk to students, begging them to turn on those webcams. Yes. And now we're at a point, thank God, where we can start doing in-person orientations. Yes. So I guess first question is, and then all of us can ask our own questions after, but what can you tell us about in-person orientations? How are they going to be done? And I don't know, how excited are you all for it?
Well, very excited for sure. We do have, so of course we're still in a weird limbo kind of space when it comes to in-person. Are we in-person? Are we fully? What's the regulations? All of the stuff. So we have only opened up 4 in-person orientation dates for now. I always say that for now because things change very quickly. For now, so it will be June the 12th, which is this weekend. This Saturday will be our first in-person orientation. June 23rd, July 14th, and July 24th. June 12th and June 23 will be on the Edinburgh campus. The 14th will be on our Brownsville campus, and July 24th will be on Edinburgh again. The max capacity for orientations right now for in-person will be 100 students to continue to enforce our social distancing, as well as making sure that we are following any other guidelines that's required by the university and the state or the CDC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for this first orientation that we are going to have this weekend, our maximum capacity is going to be 75, just for this first one.
Yeah, we got to do a trial run.
Yes.
As we know, a lot of us have been virtual and online and at home for a very long time, and so we're going to ease our way into coming back into campus, and then we'll increase again to about 100.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask, because it seems new right now that we're going back, but it's something that we've been doing for a long time. So how is this new in-person orientation going to be different from the way we used to do them before we went online?
So let me talk a little bit about the history of the orientation. Yeah, so we'd only really done in-person orientation up to 2019. So 2019 was the last time that we had an in-person orientation. Due to the pandemic, we actually had a whole orientation prepared the week before they sent us home, or a couple of weeks. We were just 2 weeks out from our first orientation in 2020. So we had to turn months of work into an online version. But we did learn a lot about what students want. We're learning about what the needs are, what's important, what we can move around, and what we can make better. And so the biggest difference from orientation before 2020 would have been that we had group advising before. So you'd be in a classroom with about 20 other students, and an advisor would be walking around talking to you a little bit about more about that. What we've learned from the pandemic and what we've been doing even now for our virtual students and students that are going to be doing in person is that we've now given students the opportunity to be able to do advising one-on-one. So every student meets with their academic advisor for at least 45 minutes and talks over about their classes, what they need, and what's going on forward for that. That's one of the biggest changes to orientation.
As well as the number of people that...
Right, the number of people! Yeah, you're right.
But like we were saying before we started the podcast, it's going to be a bit more intimate, right? Like the experience.
Yeah, more... I mean, again, I mentioned 20. That would have been 20 out of... Normally, I think an orientation in person would have had about 400 students. So it was big, we had our theaters ready and all of that. And for these, we're going to be using our lecture hall. So students will not only get an opportunity to experience a smaller orientation or more intimate with one-on-one conversations with both students and faculty and staff, but they'll also get to experience some of our bigger lecture halls. So if they do have let's say, I'm trying to think of which class would be in a big classroom like that.
A biology.
Like a biology
class.
Political science, maybe I was saying.
Yeah,
one of those.
with
So
200.
they'll see our lecture halls. And of course, also we're getting bigger classrooms to accommodate for social distancing, but students will be able to see more of where they could potentially be having class as well.
Yeah, and within this like new whole COVID in-person orientation, as we were mentioning earlier, we are going to have smaller sessions with our OLs and the FYE gurus. So students will have a more intimate conversation with them, and they'll be able to ask questions, and it'll be easier for them to make friends with smaller groups.
Yeah, I think it'll give students that are maybe a little bit more introverted an opportunity to speak up. Because when you're the bigger groups, the louder voices are technically the ones that are heard a little bit more. And I think this one gives an opportunity for like, hey, it won't be necessarily one-on-one, but it will be a lot smaller. So maybe some of our more introverted students will come out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I as someone who's introverted, there's like a way where it's almost like more anxiety when you do it over Zoom. And also, when I did my orientation, I remember I had a friend from high school that was like, hey, let's schedule orientations at the same time. And, we didn't talk in high school, but now we'll at least know each other and we'll have someone to like be with and like not feel so alone. And like, that helped a lot. And like, I definitely feel like if students are in that predicament right now, especially with COVID, and they're just scared, like, oh great, I'm gonna have to do a Zoom like orientation, and I'm like, I don't know anyone, and I'm scared. Now they'll be able to like go to an in-person one.
Right. Well, even in person, I think, and one of the pieces that I miss the most, being able to coordinate both. I've been at the university for a while, so planning in-person orientations and then having to switch to virtual. I think my biggest was like, how do people make friends virtually? I'm just not part of that, it's hard, especially when you're in a room. You are technically in breakout rooms in our virtual sessions, but you can't have a private conversation. Like, you can't talk to the person next to you and say like, hey, are you nervous too? Or like, what classes did you sign up for?
If you turn on your mic ever.
Everyone can hear. And I think it'd be borderline creepy to send somebody a direct message in the chat. Like,
and if you type in the chat, anyone can see what you're typing. So it is a little more difficult to make friends in that aspect. I mean, students still find ways, right? Through social media and stuff like that. But yeah, I believe in-person orientation will allow them to make more friends and, see some familiar faces around campus once they do get back to the fall.
For sure. It sounds exciting. Yeah, just to like make new friends, because also like I don't know if it's ever happened to you guys. I know it's definitely happened to me when I was doing like my basic classes and I made friends there, and it's like now I never see them, I know nothing about them, but I'm like every now and then, that person helped me find my class.
It's like the original like group of friends that you made, the first friends that you made.
I mean, I think that'll be I think the biggest takeaway. Of course, the information that you learn at orientation is also very important. But you get those reminders throughout your college career. The relationships is something that you can't teach, and so I think that's something that is just when you can't get if you're not in person necessarily. But I think it's also a good introduction back to fall being in person. And, going back to the events and really interacting with more humans again, other than your immediate circle or pods that we were in for a year. And so I think it'll be a good transition for students. It'll be, again, a small group of 10 is better than going into a classroom with 50.
Yeah, that's so scary.
For sure. It'll give them a little taste of what's to come in the fall.
Getting your feet wet.
And let them branch out, meeting new people. Just get familiar again with, making friends. Maybe perhaps they'll have classes with them in the fall. So it's a good opportunity to just introduce them to what's to come for fall 2021.
Yeah.
And the virtual tours are great, but like, I love everything that like we've pioneered through like Zoom, but just being on campus, seeing everything to scale. Like being like, that's the liberal arts building, that's where you're going to be. That's like the science building, that's where you're going to be. Like, it's a whole different experience. Like, I think you get so much more excited and you get so much like, I don't know, you look forward more like to the fall.
You see yourself. Like, you're there. And you're like, I see myself here. Like, I can see myself having lunch at that table with my friends the other day or the next day or whatever. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think one of the most common questions that we get before a tour or after is just, or after students registers, will I make it from one class to the next in the 10-minute time frame, because they get their classes back to back sometimes, right? And I'm like, yes, the campus, you can walk across campus in 10 minutes. And so you can't really picture that. Even like watching it virtually, you're like, I can't really, like, Jerry said, like, to scale my mind of like how far it really is it.
Yeah. Another question that we do get a lot is after those tours or before the virtual tour, they ask us, is there any way that I can schedule an in-person tour, like for me and for my family? So a lot of students do still want that in-person experience to get to know the campus before they actually take classes, just again to be familiar with it, and so they won't feel nervous when it comes to that first day of class, and they just want to be a little bit more familiar. So they do schedule a lot of in-person tours before they actually get to see that virtual tour.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think one thing that my group always tells, like, the students that we get in the orientations is like, go once you have your schedule ready, go before your classes start, like the week before, and kind of just go like, okay, this is my first class, and then from here I'm gonna go to here, and then from here, so you can kind of like know your way. Because also, like, seeing it in a screen, it's like, it happens sometimes with I'm already on this campus, right? But with other things, like, you see something on a screen, like, of a place, and then you get there and everything's like, different. It's weird.
Yeah. Like, another common comment is all the buildings look the same, and I'm like, no, but they do. I mean, that's the point. Make sure to keep that everything is uniform and symmetrical, but yeah, it does get confusing when although Edinburgh, for sure, if you're on the Edinburgh campus, as long as you stay on that covered walkway, you'll eventually get to the You'll get there.
I've seen those flags like 3 times.
Yeah, I think that's a cheat for the Edinburgh campus, for sure.
No, for sure. But also the in-person tours, it is much different than the virtual, because, you get to miss all the details. Also, our tour guides, they tell you all these stories. I know Krystal was mentioning some of the things that happened around campus and the backstories to all these buildings and stuff, and all the little details that sometimes you can't see through a computer screen that's blurry and stuff. Yeah. So we're very excited for students to go ahead and come in campus and, get to experience.
Just the feeling, right? Like, seeing it on the screen is much different.
Yes.
Being here, like, in the morning with the birds chirping.
Having to wake up to go there. And have to wake up and make this drive, or find parking and get familiar with that as well, and just be like, okay, I'm gonna do this on these days. It's very cool.
See the squirrels too.
Yes. Oh, the squirrels and the cats. It's really cute.
And if you're in Brownsville, the ducks.
There you go.
We don't have any ducks here.
The wildlife and
campuses. I was going to ask, so students that are watching this and they're already scheduled for an in-person orientation, what should they know? What should they wear? What should they bring?
Yeah.
It's 100 degrees outside. So
definitely comfortable shoes. I would say comfortable clothing as well. Just wear what you want, of course, but we're going to be moving. So you will be splitting up. A lot of, most of our sessions, we're trying to keep it as limited as we can so that we're not moving so much, because it is hot. We understand. We're in the valley. We know our area. But there will be walking. And then there will be, for sure, one campus tour. So that will be a definite routing around the campus, whether you're on Brownsville campus or the Edinburgh campus. And so comfortable shoes would be the one thing. The number one thing to bring. Water, if you have water, we're going to be providing water bottles and some of the swag stuff that we're going to get you. But definitely bring something to refill and rehydrate. The university is great about having hydration stations. So everywhere you go, there's a water fountain that you don't have to dip your water bottle into. There's sensors. You can just tap it and then the water comes out. So that's a good plus at the university as well. It'll be from 10:30 to 4 p.m. So make sure, again, you're going to be here all day, and we are providing lunch. Yes. So be hungry. You'll get a bag.
Yes, a drawstring bag, a water bottle. We also have lanyards for you guys. And we have like pens and stuff for you guys just to get started with your school supplies. But yeah, we're super excited to provide the students with that. We're also gonna see if we have some t-shirts for you guys and later mail out another one.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Bunch of swag stuff.
There is gonna be a tour right after them.
Yes.
Okay.
A tour will be included as part of the orientation.
That's great.
Yes, it is going to be optional from 4 to 5 p.m. But again, we are going to strongly... Oh, it's going to be from 3 to 4?
Yeah, 3 to 4.
3 to 4 p.m. But again, we are going to strongly encourage students to attend that tour so that they can get more familiar with campus.
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything, what should students look forward to in terms of like programming, group sessions, stuff like that?
So our programming or the sessions will be very similar to what we're doing with our online orientation, because of course we want to make sure that even though it'll be a lot more exciting if you're here in person. Yes. We do want to provide the same experience for both our students that are deciding to take their orientation online and then coming in person. So the sessions will be very similar.
Yeah, we're going to include we're going to have our involvement ambassadors come and speak to our students about getting involved on campus, the different clubs and organizations that we have available here. We're also going to have the Career Center come in, show them a little bit more about how to use Handshake and applying for jobs at the university, learning about work study, direct wage. And we're also going to have our TRIO program, which is like a federal outreach program. We're going to have them present to the students as well.
And of course, they get time with the FYE gurus.
Yes,
of course. I mean, that is a big part of the orientation is spending some time with these students and learning about their student experience and all of the knowledge that you guys have to share, of course. And the big kickoff, of course, is the welcome. So we do welcome you to UTRGV, and we introduce you to some of our pride and traditions and some of the campus events that you can look forward to in the fall semester or in the spring, because going forward, that's what they can expect on an orientation day. Yeah. Of course, a tour.
Yes,
A tour as well. Some exercise.
Yes, that's for the I did not sign up for cardio, but you guys are welcome.
And I guess this is like a weird question, but like you say you've worked at UTRGV for like 13?
So I am a legacy alum, so I did come to the university. I was a freshman, or I went to my orientation in 2008, and I fell in love with the university. And so I've been here for 13 years at the university, but professionally, I've been the orientation coordinator since 2017. 2017, the orientation coordinator.
So in your whole history at UTRGV and I guess like the past institution, like this, has there ever been a shift like this, like in terms of COVID? Has there ever been a moment where something like this happened?
No.
So this
I cannot think of that. I think the biggest change that we had to orientation from when I came to orientation was that it was a 2-day orientation. So we had to come to campus twice, which was, I guess, like a little bit of a time constraint, especially because I came really early. I was one of those that was like, I have to go to the earliest orientation. And so having to be here twice or driving over here twice was a little bit of a burden, but we then switched it over to a 1-day where we were able to do a lot, and that's where we had the group advising. And now we're still at a 1-day with just the advising component on a different day, but that's only, again, 45 minutes of your day compared to an entire day on campus hoping to see when you see your advisor. So we've done a lot of little changes, but never have had to go fully online. We've had and we still now have an orientation system, so an online system that our students are getting more or additional UTRGV information through. We've had that for about 5 years, but primarily we were using it for our students that are international or out of state that couldn't fly down just to come for orientation. We'd accommodate by giving them that, but that used to be like a if you need it, and now it's everybody has to do it. So that actually having that component actually helped make it slightly easier. It was not easy whatsoever to switch, but it was a benefit of already having that system to be able to help our students.
I think in the past when we talked to other departments about like their shift because of COVID, it's like how do you say it? It's like a silver lining because all these COVID has kind of taught us that these things can be done in person. And like in terms of this, when we interviewed the student union, they were saying like, yeah, virtual events, because of COVID, now we're like placing a larger emphasis on it because there's like students who, you know, might like tackle with disabilities, or like they may just not be able to be on campus due to them being in another state. And like they're like, we're happy that COVID kind of taught us like, hey, it's great to have in-person stuff, but it's also important that like you emphasize like a large group for like your virtual students. So like I see that kind of with the orientation, like now as students that want to be in person, and it's going to be encouraged by the university, of course, to now be in person. But now, like, if there's a student that, you know, might not feel comfortable, might just have, like you said, like the foreign exchange students and stuff like that, like now they'll be able to have like a spot that's maybe more developed because of COVID. And there might have been like, there's now a large emphasis.
Yeah, because again, we did have the orientation system, but there was lots of videos, which again, we still have, but the biggest thing that we wanted to do this year that was different was making sure that we had a live virtual Zoom welcome, like so that people could see us and we were live and we were real people and not just a video of like, this is my script and this is what I'm supposed to say to you, but just real engagement.
Yes, the interaction between the students and of course the orientation leaders, gurus, and our faculty. Also, this whole online virtual thing that's going on, it also gives students more flexibility. I know also if there's clubs and organizations, they're able to meet like bi-weekly through virtual meetings. There's also in-person meetings, but it also gives students that time to actually be able to do all these things without having, you know, to show up in person. But again, we are super excited to have in-person orientation because the experience is, I mean, incredible. Basically, you get to meet a lot of new people actually face to face and see that there's actual humans in front of you and not just a computer screen.
Yeah, we were just talking about it before the podcast, but it seems like a lot of us remember like our orientation leader. And yeah, it's just a really cool experience.
It's like when you're at home and you're like on assist and you like see your degree and you feel so alone and you're like, oh my god, like, and like it's different. But when you go in person, you're with other people, you're like, I'm stressed too, oh my god, like, we gotta do this, like we gotta graduate. And it's just, I have friends that I met from my first orientation that like I don't talk to, but like I see them on Snapchat and Instagram and like I'm like, oh my god, like they're taking that class, I took that class like last semester, and it's like you don't feel so alone. So
I did want to ask if there's like a checklist that students should have like either accomplished by the time that they go to orientation. So like if there's any paperwork or meetings that they may have to take care of, like is there anything like that before orientation?
So definitely to attend an orientation, you have to go to advising first. Please don't miss your advising session. I'm talking to you. During your advising, you do get registered for classes. So we want to make sure that is something that we get out of the way, and then you can enjoy, you know, meeting people, and you're not really worried about like, oh my god, do I need 15 hours? Do I need 12 hours? Like what? You get all of that done before. Another thing that you definitely are going to need before starting classes in orientation, getting your meningitis vaccine.
We really push for students to try to get in their meningitis vaccination record before orientation. So guys, please turn in your meningitis as well as your TSI scores so that you won't have any problems registering for classes. So
yeah, those are the biggest things. Other than that, once you're at orientation, you're ready. Like we're ready to meet you. We're ready to engage.
Time to make friends.
It's the registration part that sometimes is you got some missing documents for sure. Meningitis is the biggest one.
Yes.
Yeah, that happened to be mine. I was like, leave early because I'm my shot.
Yeah, but we do try to get that. We're working to see if for these in-person orientations, because it is something that we would have offered in the past for in-person orientation, is have our student clinic come out and provide the meningitis vaccine. And so that way you don't have to pay for it out of pocket. You can add that charge to your student account. And then once your financial aid kicks in or any other fees, you can pay for that later and not at the moment. And we're trying to see if possible to also, if you already have your meningitis vaccine, if they can also provide the COVID vaccine. And if you wanted to do that as an option, that would be something that we're looking forward to possibly offering for these in-person orientations as well.
That's so cool. Do we have like maybe a time, like when that would get approved? Like
we need to see what, for the context that we have to see when it'll get approved. It'll be fine, but we will promote it if it's available during your in-person orientation that you may have signed up for. It'll be a part of the email, like come prepared, because you will possibly have this option. Because if you're, for whatever reason you need to get ready, mentally prepare for a shot, then we will definitely write that on there.
Yes, we'll let them know beforehand.
Oh, how fun! I'm really excited.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, I think, if anyone has any other comments, but I think we actually addressed most of what we wanted to talk about in terms of in-person orientation. If you're a vaquero and you're coming along either this semester or in the future, just know that UTRGV is doing everything we can possibly do in terms of making orientation suitable for you, either it be in person or at home in Zoom, because that's what we've been doing, and we love it. That's also a valuable asset. But other than that, Krystal, Aissa, thank you so much for joining us here for the First Year Experience podcast. We're so happy you could make it in person.
Yes.
And, I think this is a start of something great and a return back to normal. So thank you so much once again, and we hope to see you soon. Maybe after orientations are over, we can talk about how it went.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
For joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.